This is Witchbase News for Friday the 14th of November 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous news this week, Frontier adjusts some numbers again after last week's Colonisation nerf. The Dodec Starport arrives in the game in early access, Odyssey gets its first ever community goal, and there's new life and more mystery to come as the October Consortium system opens up. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ding the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. Frontier's first new orbital starport type to enter the game in a good few years, the Dodec, arrived this week with the deployment of the Dodec update on Tuesday. As we've reported previously, having initially planned that the Dodec would be locked behind a permanent paywall, Frontier eventually rescinded on that proposition following player feedback and instead announced that the Dodec would have the distinction of being the first starport to enter the game as an early access ARX purchase instead, that early access period being 723 years. That is of course a joke. Upon unlocking with an ARX purchase, the station comes with a one-time only per account instant deployment build option. Thereafter, having unlocked the Dodec, all subsequent builds have to be completed the old fashioned way with epic, biblical Cecil B. DeMille levels of haulage. We've had the question come up a number of times this week, so just for the sake of some clarification, in order to deploy your Insta Dodec you must have the available build points for a tier 3 starport anywhere in your chosen system, meaning you can deploy it as your primary port in a system if the system has the ability to take a tier 3 as its primary. Just stake your claim as usual and then drop down your pot noodle Insta Dodec. The regular viewer to this channel will remember last week when we reported on FDEVs plans to tweak the sliders affecting the influences exerted by primary and subsequent starports and facilities in a colonised star system, specifically in the areas of development level, security, standard of living, tech level and wealth. The announced changes did raise a degree of consternation in the community, arriving as it did at the same time as the Colonisation beta was officially ending. Frontier did note however that following the changes they would continue to monitor the situation and make any adjustments to those same sliders that were needed, despite the beta being over. Senior Community Manager Paul Crowther noted in a brief response on the forums on Tuesday that the changes were made to quote ensure more variation in the galaxy and prevent all stations from being maxed stats and similar end quote. In a post to the forums one day later, Paul followed up with a more in-depth post noting that the initial changes were to combat some scenarios where player colonised systems that had minimal facilities constructed had maxed out their stats and were in fact sitting at levels higher than those in the pre-colonisation bubble systems, reasoning that makes the requirement for the adjustment much clearer. The post went on to further note that not only did the development level adjustments made have a larger impact than the developers had intended in systems that had seen significant construction efforts, which had resulted in a notable drop in the availability of some commodities, but also that the impact of the adjustments overall was higher than they anticipated. As a result of these observations, the developers would be redialing the adjustments made to bring colonised systems much more in line with their original intentions, and further that those adjustments would take place during Thursday's regular server recycle period this week on the 13th of November. As we've reported on this channel many times before, the background simulation, or BGS, is a huge multi-limbed and complex beast to wrangle, and it's proven many times in the past that pulling on one of its many threads can often have unforeseen circumstances in another that have to be further accounted for following any adjustment. As always, Frontier have again reiterated on the end of the follow-up post this week that they will continue to monitor feedback on the adjustments as well as on their own in-game data and make any adjustments needed in future to ensure the best long-term experience overall. From this point onwards in today's broadcast, we are going to be delving into some spoilers for the ongoing October Consortium mystery. If you don't want to see those spoilers, please stop watching now. If you're unaware, HIP 87621 is the mystery system associated with the disappearance of the scientist Terri Torra that we've reported on here a number of times since the paper chase leading to the permit locked system dropped into the game back in August this year. Following the revelation that the shady October Consortium had permit locked the system for reasons unknown, an area of space approximately 40 light years across surrounding the system was blocked from colonisation, and a number of the systems within the newly established cordon suddenly found themselves with hurriedly deployed starports representing all the galaxy's major power players. Whatever was in 87621, it was important enough to garner the attention of the superpowers. At 4 PM Universal Galactic time yesterday afternoon, every single commander in the Pilots Federation was granted the permit to access the system HIP 87621, all at the same time. Following the delivery of that permit lock, 87621 was immediately swarmed with players jumping in from nearby star systems, eager to see what October was hiding. So large were the number of pilots jumping in that the game servers experienced a slight wobble, and some players, yours truly included, were kicked out. Things very quickly stabilised however, and exploration of the previously unexplored system began. A brief look at the nav panel shows that the system itself contained a lone asteroidal starport called Exogene Sciences and POIs called biological sites on or near planets 1 and 2 in the system. There was also a ship crash site. A quick visit to the asteroid starport revealed that there was an active community goal calling for genetic samples to be taken of a new alien flora present in the system. That'll be the biological sites. The usual restriction on just taking one sample from one plant had been lifted in the area as well, meaning you can grab multiple samples from the same site very quickly. The community goal also offers a word of caution, stating that the new biologic samples can only be found on planets with a dangerously high daytime surface temperature. The lab-coated superheroes of Canonn Interstellar Research have already produced a table of all the POIs and their sizes etc, which you'll find on their page about the October Consortium mystery, which we've linked to in the description below. As well as rewarding an 8 times multiplier for any appropriate genetic samples received, the community goal is also offering an Artemis suit photon blue paint job just for entering one sample. Get yourself in the top 75% when the CG completes in just 2 weeks however, and you'll receive a fully engineered G5 Artemis suit with improved battery capacity, night vision, increased sprint duration and improved jump assist modifications. Not too shabby a reward at all. Just a quick note on the CG, we have heard from FDEV that the 8 times credit multiplier on contributed samples was being applied yesterday, but it wasn't showing as such in the UI. That bug has been squashed as of this morning, and you should now be seeing the full amount when you hand in. When you visit the sampling sites, you are indeed presented with an entirely new species of flora to the game called Radicoida. The in-game codex describes Radicoida as a woody plant that shares some traits with fungal growths such as bioluminescence and spores. That bioluminescence and the cloud of spores that the trees produce has a blue hue to it that is very reminiscent of all things Guardian, by the way. It may turn out to be a coincidence, but it's worth taking note of for now nonetheless. If you use the alternate fire mode on an Artemis suit genetic sampler, the resultant pulse reveals hotspots on the huge tree-like structures that can produce the sample you need. Get 3 scans of these hotspots and you'll have completed 1 sample. It's worth taking a moment to pause here to note, by the way, this is the first time we've seen an Odyssey based community goal, let alone a pretty weighty Odyssey centric reward for participation in that goal. The Odyssey expansion was released 4.5 years ago. Together with the recent announcement of operations coming next year, these are the first solid signs that Frontier is actually revisiting its on-foot component and expanding upon it. News that I know will make a fair few people, myself included, very happy. As you may have already suspected, the crash site POI, a sidewinder, is indeed that of the missing scientist Terri Torra. Scanning the data core of the crashed Sidey reveals a message from Terri, who survived the crash and was heading out to grab some samples from the new plant. She notes in the message that there is indeed something special about the plant and that October must be hiding its existence for a reason evidently that we have yet to get to the bottom of. There is clearly yet more to this story to be revealed, but it's likely any revelation won't appear for the next 2 weeks at least while the community goal plays out. But your key takeaway from this should really be there is more to this, it's not done yet, and Elite has always been all about the long game. As a prime example, the arrival of the Adamastor in 2020 led into a multi-year story arc culminating in the rise of Salvation and a 2-year-long Thargoid invasion of the bubble featuring Stargoids, the Titans and more. Our first view of the Spire sites started as a few weird but quite low level alien growths. They eventually grew into alien citadels so large that you could see them from orbit. Frontier themselves tweeted during the opening salvo of the event last night, echoing the tweet that had kicked the whole October Consortium mystery off in August, saying, quote, "A trail followed, a secret uncovered, but yet to be understood." End quote. It remains to be seen what is next for the newly discovered Radicoider, but I think it unlikely that Frontier ran a months long mystery trail only to deploy some trees onto a couple of planets in one system of the galaxy. We now eagerly await the next steps in the October Consortium mystery. Did you deploy a Dodec Starport this week? Have you been to visit the new life in 87621, and where do you think the October Consortium mystery might be heading next? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.